Iron Dragon, father of King Arthur, from Big Child Creatives. We're going to be talking about Sky Earth non-metallic metal today. Highly polished armor reflecting the area around it, and I want people to know about non-metallic metal before they watch this video. I have a video called Advanced Non-Metallic Metal. I want you to check that out. It shows just kind of how I find the light source, how I map it out. Yeah, I'll of course be adding a lot of knowledge to non-metallic metal here, but this is intended to be a bit of an advanced subject. You know, you must first master this one version before you break on through to the other side. But yeah, let's talk about it. First of all, let us gain some understanding through observation. I feel like non-metallic metal has a lot of stages that it moves through. You have a beginner kind of animated stage, then you start pulling more of that bounce light into play, and then finally, I think you get to this museum quality non-metallic metal. That's what I would call it. You know, when you're staring at a suit of armor in a case and it's illuminated from all directions, but seeing is believing. You know, it doesn't necessarily follow the zenithal light, but you've just made the object look shiny, and there's a lot going on outside of this reflective surface that is going to have an effect on it. You know, it reacts very dramatically, as my friend Jason says. So basically, if you can just make something look shiny enough, you win. I would like to show you how to make things shiny. But first of all, let's take a little step outside and have a look at our lovely model here, showing off one of his favorite things, a drum. You can see the chrome banding on the drum is reflecting the environment around it. There's also a bit of a specular highlight, you know, based on the viewing angle, what the perspective is of the camera on the object or your eyes. There's going to be light bouncing back at you, and it does not move as I rotate this little tom-tom around. You can also see the green grass being reflected in the lower portions. I made a bit of a mistake. I'm standing in my backyard here, and what's being reflected is a shaded area. There's like the shadow from the house is being cast on the grass. My camera is there, and yeah, so it's a dark reflection. It may not look, you know, quite as obvious there, but there are some specks of brighter green showing through. So that's what I would like to take onto the armor. To kick it off, I just mocked up the base real quick, just kind of throwing down some green tones, a little muddy, mostly green. I will be adding a lot of grass to this to really be casting the color up on Uther's armor. So I have that nearby, kind of look at it as color reference and stuff, but I'll have to leave that to the side for now. But yeah, that's what's going to be generating my green environment, and then we'll have some blue sky and some yellow sun shining down on Uther. But before I get to the armor, yeah, I have to mock some things up. So get the base out of the way. The cape, that was also brought up with just from Vallejo model color black, red, vermilion. Yes. I just had to get it in. You know, this cape is also going to be reflected on the armor, so I needed to have that color available. Yeah, there's some smaller details that I'll paint in later, but yeah, just getting that red and the grass in place. On to the main course. Remember the drum. Never forget the drum. There's a lot to consider, but how I break it down, I examine real life, sure, some paintings too. You know, you can take a lot of inspiration from other people's interpretations, other people's paint jobs, but there's just a lot to learn through observation. That's what's always informing me. Most of all, it is just not someone saying you place the light here, you put it there. I find the information myself. I look at the world and I ask myself, how can I paint that? Anyway, it's going to be like that for a while. We're going to be floating between imagination and tutorial. But anyways, the main colors at play were green, brown, dark Prussian blue, ice yellow, and white. Oh, and also some lime green. It took a while to find my footing with these mixes. The day before I even dug into this, I drew just like a flat piece of armor on some plastic card and mixed colors around. You know, this is something new for me, something I'm also trying to learn. I'm confident in my ability, but it's something that I have to kind of tiptoe around in because it is still something new to me. I knew what I wanted. Throwing too many colors on at once was going to be a mess. I'm glad that I found this pretty simple combination. Mostly on this first trip through, I was just following a top-down light source. I wanted to get some volumes established. Some of them need to be very large, some need to be small, sharp highlights. It'll all make sense as it comes together. But now I get to add a little bit of that atmosphere into the situation. Since the first take is roughly rendered, it's time to pull some of the reflected green light up from the bottom. Every object within an inch will be fully affected. The effect is going to taper off, and here lies the challenge. It's a balance to strike, but just the same as you focused on zenithal light, imagine the model is upside down. You can do top-down light sourcing, you can just flip him on his head and do the anti-zenithal, or nilidial. Everybody hates it when I say anti-zenithal. When I say something that makes a lot of sense, people don't like that. What the fuck am I saying? Nilidial light. Anti-zenithal is more fun. I'm working with diluted paint, mostly, kind of just glazing over established volumes and adding my own. Just tinting over this blue take of armor is pretty easy. The green covers it nicely, and yeah, the volume is already there, so it helped me along. This was a lot of work, though. That's the first day. Everything is large. There's just more real estate. I could unroll this into like, I don't know, 5 Space Marines, maybe? It's about 5 Space Marines worth of surface area. But yeah, that's day one. So here it is, sweet rotational footage at the close of that first effort. Still, I'm a little precarious about it. I find myself, I moved the light around a lot. And what I mean, moving the highlight area, pushing the paint around. Like I would take a look at the model after, kind of being up close and focused at it, and I would pull it away and like, all right, that needs to shift. So there was a lot of poking around. Normally I paint and produce much faster, but it was new to me, so I'm unfamiliar with it. Just like when you paint something brand new, if you've never painted an elf before, you're like, how am I going to paint an elf? Happens all the time. But here we are, day 2. With that first pass laid out, I have smaller areas to work on. I've also had a look at it with a fresh set of eyes. That's essential, as especially like finding that balance. Taking a peek at it at eye level and noting where I want it to add more reflections. You have to maintain that distant view. There's larger volumes overall, and there's a lot happening at eye level. Sometimes I would find myself highlighting the lower part of the knee. I set him down, I look at it, barely visible. I want this to be noticeable, so I found myself kind of shifting, stretching things out a little further than they may reach, but it's my reality. I'm painting the world. And this is another trap that you can fall into when you're beginning non-metallic metal. As you paint and rotate the model around in your hands, you can lose perspective on your light source. So we're working from a very fixed perspective. All of it is, if we're taking a top-down light source in mind, but even more so with non-metallic metal, it's even more of a still photo, just pasted on top of a 3-dimensional surface. Now that everything has been kind of roughly established, I want to go in and fortify the blends, just improve the saturation, get that really, it's got to be bright, bold, and beautiful, so just layers and layers and layers of paint like this. It's nice to look at this model, really, like, I packed a lot of pigment into it. The photos are very accurate. I'm happy with how much it's just very bright. It stands out, and that's from just packing the pigment on, thinking that it's done, and just adding more and more and more. And more! It was also time to finally add some dashes of red. The model's like in half a lot of the time. I'm pulling his waist back and forth to find the red because the side of his thigh has to be reflecting an entirely red amount. But yeah, I mixed some of my base tones in to lighten and darken in certain areas. You know, in some spots, taking that ice yellow and dark Prussian blue, you know, that sky blue combination that I came up with, mixing that in with the red and creating kind of a more of a rose red or kind of a pinkish tone. How do I say this? Yeah, it's a little tricky. What color is the object, what is being reflected, and then, you know, the reflection is going to be altered by the color of the object. Remember, the drum has a deeper silver banding to it, you know, so everything's going to change just a little bit. So that's what I'm asking myself as I'm painting around on this, but mainly just going for the bright and bold blend up of whatever color is being reflected, just a perfect picture being reflected back onto the model, I hope. But yeah, I didn't want my reflections to get too out of control, so this remained a balancing act. I am ad-libbing and reading off of my script, if you can't tell. There's a lot to think about and say, so it's fun. So now I could join the two halves of my pretty king. And with the torso finally in place, I brought some inks into play. Just a very thin glaze of blue, green, or red after some final highlights. They were applied very, very thin. This is just a slight filter, one more layer to diffuse the light and add saturation. It's not changing very much. I'm not intending, this isn't wash-like, it's not sinking into the crevices. Think of this like a glaze in its purest form, you know, in the world of pottery, just an all over uniform coating that has an effect, possibly a transparent effect on what is underneath. But yeah, just adding more color, and ink packs a lot of pigment, so it's going to add a lot more vibrance, and you know, that's probably why he came out looking so bold and beautiful. I love it. And yes, more highlights were applied. The amount of times I went through and did a final round of edge highlighting was many. That's the official count. Yeah, I always mention this, painting is very back and forth. I am not just moving up a stairway, you know, I'm swimming around in the moat. I'm playing Twister. There it is. I'm going back and forth between, you know, colors, back and forth between steps, you know, the gradual layering. That's how magic is made. And now I could finally add some grass, and oh, what a fine selection. Thank you, Gamers Grass. They just sent me a few boxes a long time ago. It was a good deal, so I appreciate that. And yeah, I took from the Wildflower set and the Green Meadow set. It's a nice set, you know, you get 4 different samples, 4 different flowers and 4 different tones of grass to mix together. I also brought into play some moss from the barn, just watered down white glue. This is just a tub of flock that I found in the barn when I was very young, so I have no idea where it came from. It's some custom mix that my oldest brother, who cursed me with this hobby that I love, he left it behind when he joined the military. He left some things behind, and zombie dragon, some moss. So I had a lifetime supply of moss, basically. This has been with me for decades. Love that moss. But he is completely finished. I would like to say something right now. Just, I feel like I didn't lay the recipe out very clearly, so it is black-green, so just a deep green plus black. That was what I made all of my shadow tones from, and then dark Prussian blue plus ice yellow in varying amounts. That's what made the sky tones. So most of the dark areas have just a little bit of a forest green mixed in there. And as I was working, I just started adding green splashes, like, hey, maybe there's some woods around him, you know, the torso on his chest. I tried to make some, like, this is such a weird afterthought that I didn't even record myself doing it, and I want to do this again. I will definitely repeat this. This was a learner for me, and I think there are weak areas on the model. You can see in the bicep armor, and same with the other, like the rear side of it. It just could have been painted more strongly. The cape could be better. There's a lot of things that could be improved, but target acquired. I got a nice reflected environment and just the shiniest armor. I had to go somewhere uncomfortable for myself and make this very bright, icy blue. So yeah, it was a fun one. It was an adventure. And yeah, I just realized I didn't lay out the, I'll have a list of colors in the description, but it was built from mixtures, you know. So there it is, Uther Penis Dragon in full environmental, non-metallic metal. Do you like? I like. But yeah, I don't think I can say it enough times. I had fun making this, and I hope you had fun watching it. And stay tuned for the next fun video. We're gonna have a great time. My sunglasses are in the car? Yeah. The heat is on, man. Peak of summer. Catch you next time. Thank you so much for your support. Fuck. Okay.